So, to begin with, are you with me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is an action research webinar workshop because at the end of the lecture, I hope mga 1.5 hours or 1 hour and 15 minutes lecture, we will be dividing you into siguro para mas mga into groups of 10 members each, no? And you will come up with just an outline, no? Parang right away you have to apply. No, lagyan natin agad ng application yung ating ginagawa. Okay? So action research, it's a very popular methods or research methodology under qualitative research approach. Pero pwede rin siyang quantitative. Okay? Ulitin ko, ha? Action research is a popular or one of the most famous research design or methodology under the qualitative research approach. But it doesn't mean na hindi siya pwedeng maging quantitative. Pwede. Depende sa objectives ng study o yung goal ng researcher. Okay? So it is a disciplined inquiry done by an educator. So ang action research was tawag natin dito, realize. Though ang pinagmula ng action research ay hindi educator, hindi po. Ang action research ay galing sa konsepto ng isang psychologist, si Kurt Lewin. Lewin yan, mababasa nyo, Lewin, no? L-E-W-I-N, pero ang pronunciation yan is Lewin because he's a German national na nag-migrate sa US prior to the Second World War, 1936, if I'm not mistaken, nung naramdaman nila na balak na ni Hitler sakupin ang Europe, no? Ang mga scholars, may mga spy sa gobyerno ay nagsipag-migrate sa US. Tinanggap sila kasi mga scholars sila, pakikinabangan sila ng US sa kanilang mga researches, no? Nagturo siya sa MIT, no? Sa Massachusetts Institute of Technology, yung famous na school sa engineering and computer science sa US, no? Doon siya tumuloy, doon siya naging faculty at saka consultant. Sa kanya nanggaling yung idea na action research from his field theory. Marami kayong matututunan kay Kurt Lewin. Ang dissertation ko, ang thesis ko, palaging sa kanya galing ang aking theoretical framework. Napaka-useful niya. So, na-realize sa education na ito yung pinaka-applicable in doing research, no? Bakit? We will find out later, no? So, it is done by an educator with the intent that the research will inform and change his or her practices in the future. This research is carried out within the context of the educator's environment, that is, with the students and the school in which the teacher works on questions that deal with educational matters at hand. It can be a qualitative or a quantitative research. Kaya ako siya hinuli sa lahat ng methodology, no? Kasi para mas matandaan ninyo na hindi na pwede rin siyang maging quantitative. So now we're on natatakpan. Nasaan na tayo? Anong title nito? Natatakpan ako ng framework.
Framework na po.
Framework. Okay, eto yung framework ng action research. Action research framework, ibig sabihin, ano yung pinaka-foundation niya, di ba? Ano yung kanyang theoretical foundation? Ayan. Si Kurt Lewin, huwag niyo kakalimutan, ang pronunciation niyan ay V because sa German ang W ay V. Okay? At ang V ay F. Kaya nga yung Volkswagen, originally, ang pronunciation niyan ay Volkswagen. Volkswagen yan, yung Volkswagen natin basahin sa English, di ba? Okay. Kurt Levin's approach of action research is a research method in which the researcher intervenes in and during the research. So, may intervention daw ang action research, sabi ni Kurt Lewin. Ang hirap naman ni Kurt Lewin magpa-action research, kailangan may intervention. Actually, yan yung classical, no? Pero mamaya, bibigyan ko kayo ng suggestion. Pwede namang walang direct intervention, no? Kung ano yung available yung data ngayon, pwede nyo yung gamitin para magkaroon ng action research. Bakit? galing yan doon sa ginamit yung ano yung grades ng mga anak nyo, yung mga bata nyo ngayon, yung grades nila sa synchronous tsaka sa asynchronous. Yan yung example ko mamaya, ha? Dumaan yun sa proseso di ba? Performance ng mga estudyante nyo yun using a particular strategy. So, in the absence of actual intervention, meron na kayong ginamit na strategy, kaya nagkaroon ng output, yung grades ng mga estudyante. Kaya nagko-qualify yan sa action research. Okay? Kasi if you intentionally perform an intervention, medyo tedious. Pero mas masaya yon sana. Mas masaya. Okay? This serves two purposes. It will bring about positive change and knowledge and theory will be generated. Okay? Pag may intervention kasi, may manipulation. Ibig sabihin, ginawa mo yung intervention intentionally para makita kung magkakaroon siya ng effect or impact doon sa yung mga participants o wala. No? That's the meaning of intervention, di ba? Kaya siya action research, yung intervention niya yung action. Literally. Yun ang ibig sabihin ni Kurt Lewin. It is important that the researcher acts as a social change expert. Yun ang purpose daw. Kailangan magkaroon ng change. Nakita mo may problema, gumawa ka ng intervention or action na sa tingin mo ay makakatulong para magkaroon ng change yung kasalukuyang sitwasyon. So, the researcher become a social change expert who helps and encourages the target participants to change their behavior towards appropriate values and practices. Most of the time, sa kaso nyo, academic behavior, tsaka yung mga interpersonal behaviors ng mga bata. Diba? The term was suggested by Levin as a comparative research on the conditions and effects of various forms of social action and research leading to social action that uses a spiral steps, each of which is composed of a circle of planning, action, and fact-finding about the result of the action. To summarize, no, ginawan ko ng simpleng ano niya, yung sinatawag niya na steps, spiral steps. Meron kayong, ito yung action research according to Kurt Lewin na require ng action or intervention, literally. So, gumawa kayo ng assessment or pre-assessment, nag-design kayo or nag-develop kayo ng program, ng plan, based on the result of the assessment, okay? Then you implement the action or the intervention, and then you evaluate or you conducted a post-assessment, then you give feedback, no? Ni-report nyo. Then, you came up with plan of action for change. Bakit may reporting pa kailangan? Kasi kukuha pa kayo ng opinions ng iba based doon sa naging result ng inyong study or ng inyong action, no, ng intervention, bago kayo gumawa ng plan of action para madagdagan yung plan na ipopropose ninyo. Okay? So, cycle siya. Yung plan of action yan, pwede nyo ulitin ulit. Okay? Sa simpleng process sa klase, sa eskwelahan, meron kayong diagnostic test, di ba? Yung typical nating buhay dati, yung nagpapa-pre-diagnostic kayo, opening ng klase. Then, first quarter, meron kayong module na ititest. Kayong lahat na nagtuturo ng English sa iba-ibang section na pare-parehas ang module na gagamitin, di ba? Gagamitin niyo yung pare-parehas na strategy. Yun yung action, yun yung intervention. Gagamitin niyo ng pare-parehas na intervention. Ang kaibahan sa experimental research, hindi niyo kailangang mag-observe ng control. Hindi niyo kailangang i-equate ang inyong mga participants. Kasi sa experimental research, maraming bits and pieces ng steps or procedures na ginagawa para maging true experimental. Sa action research, may intervention kagaya ng experimental, pero hindi kailangang mag-randomization, hindi kailangang mag-equate, hindi kailangang pare-parehas ang age level, ang grade, no. Basta't ginawa niyo yung strategy, in-apply niyo yung action, tapos nagpa-post-assessment kayo evaluation. Kinumpare nyo yung result ng post-assessment sa pre-assessment kung nag-improve. Kung nag-improve, ibig sabihin, effective yung ginamit nyong strategy in teaching the subject. Okay? So, if i-feedback nyo yun, magbibigay ng opinions or suggestions yung mga pinag-reportan nyo. Of course, most of the time, yan yung mga bossing. Diba? Then, from there, pagsasamahin nyo yung result ng inyong intervention, nung strategies at saka yung opinions ng mga nakarinig ng inyong feedback or report to come up with a plan for action. Ang action research, maigsi lang ang time frame. Hindi siya dapat mahaba. Bakit? Kasi nga, kailangan mong makita kung a particular action or intervention ay naging effective ng ganitong period para mabago mo agad kung merong kailangan baguhin. Okay? Para kung kailangan mo siyang i-improve pa o may kailangan mo siyang bawasan, masyado siyang mabigat, pwede sa susunod na quarter. Ang target lagi ng isang action research, ang ideal is a quarter. In your case, no, it's a quarter. Okay? Yung quarter period or grading period. So besides the research of social systems, sabi ni Levin, action research is all about solving problems in order to bring about social change. During the research method, the researcher does not merely observe and interpret information, but he is also an active participant in the process, especially in your case. Actually, isa kayo sa tool. Ang teacher, palaging tool. Kasi kayo ang nagdi-deliver nung action. Diba? Ang ano nyo lang is, titingnan ninyo kung ano yung magiging reaction, kung ano yung magiging effect or impact nung ginagawa ninyong intervention through your facilitation, take note, para magkaroon ng change or improvement. Okay? Kaya malaki ang papel ng teacher. Okay? Laging malaki ang papel ng teacher. Kasi nakasalalay sa ating skills, sa ating ability to handle the situations, ang effectiveness. Minsan kahit matalino ang bata, kapag ang nagpa-facilitate ay hindi matalino o hindi skilled sa kanyang ginagawa, walang kwenta ang talino ng bata. Because we have to make sure na yung interest nitong batang matalino ay nakukuha natin. Minsan may mga batang you feel bored sa klase na ang dating sa inyo ay hindi interesado, no? Tamad. Yun pala, hindi nyo lang namomotivate. Hindi lang nila type yung style niyo ng delivery. May mga ganyang kaso. Kaya nga ang classroom teacher, hindi lang facilitator, no? Counselor at the same time. Psychologist, etc., etc. Sorry kayo. Pinili nyo mag-teacher, 'di ba? Ganun talaga. Oo. Kung ayaw natin ng ganun, wala. Mag-iba tayo ng profession. Na sinasabi ko sa mga colleagues ko na, alam niyo yung nagrereklamo sila sa mga estudyante, yung mga estudyante ito, ang tatamad, ang gusto, spoon feeding, blah, blah, blah. Anong ginawa nyo? May ganun palang needs. Anong ginawa nyo? College na sila, dapat ganito, ganyan, ganyan. Okay, no, ikaw ba college? Perfectly done mo ang iyong pag-aaral? Perfectly understood mo ba ang mga lessons and modules? Come on. Diba? Come on. When we decide to be teachers and educators, no, dapat nag-decide din tayo na ang pasensya ay lagpas sa ulo. No? Yung commitment is beyond the salary that we receive. Yes. Yun ang malungkot. Malungkot yun kasi there's so much expectations from us na hindi katumbas ng sinusweldo natin. Kaya nga, mananatili na ang teaching profession is a vocation. It will always be a vocation. Meaning, may mga bagay tayong kailangan gawin na hindi nasasakop ng ating pay, ng ating sweldo. Yun ang ibig sabihin ng vocation. Okay? So besides, this allows him, to continue, may mga ilan-ilan akong, pasensya na kayo kasi psychologist ako counselor, di ba? Hindi pwedeng, minsan hindi ko na sisingitan ng mga ilang values, chenes ang aking discussion kasi lahat naman talaga dapat ay value laden, no? This allows him to intervene faster and better and bring about change. One major advantage is that he will have a better understanding of the problems, and the close cooperation with the field will increase the perceptions of the researcher and the practitioners. During research method, the focus can be centered on the activities of the research itself. Actually, yun talaga yun. Ewan ko itong author na to, ba't nitong sinabi? Talagang ang sentro ng research ay yung activity na nagsisilbi, activity, nagsisilbi. Tawag dyan conditioning. Yung activity na nagsisilbing action or intervention. Okay? Okay. So, ano lang ha, sandali lang ha, iinom ako ha. Oo, kasi nakakatuyo ng ano. Sabi ko, the best decision yung ginawa ko na umalis ako sa teaching. Kasi hirap na hirap ngayon kayo, no? Yung online. Kahit ako, tiyak ko mahihirapan ako dyan. Kaya best decision na ako yung naglumipat. No? Lumipat talaga ako. Hindi ako ngayon namumroblema sa synchronous at asynchronous. Okay? So what is the process of action research? According to the, may source ako nito, hindi sa akin galing to. Kumuha ko ng RRL para lang masuportahan yung alam ko sa action research writing. Okay? So you have to select selecting focus or topic, no? In a more practical term, it is selecting your topic, no? So you starts with a reflective action aimed at discerning one or more topics worthy of the teacher's or researcher's time. Since different actions and teachers in the classroom are in high demand, all activities should be worthwhile for the researcher. Okay? Alam kong madali na maintindihan yan, hindi ko na kailangan i-elaborate, no? So yung topic nyo ay kasalukuyang nyong nakikita o nangyayari sa inyong araw-araw na buhay bilang guro. Okay? So the focus selection or the topic selection is considered the first step in the action research process. It begins with the researcher or team asking questions about which elements of the research benefit practice or learning. Palaging ang goal ng action research is to help the learners or other teachers improve their skills. Tandaan niyo palagi yan. Whether academic skills, behavioral skills, facilitation skills, laging ang goal ng action research is to help improve the concerned participants. No? Yung skills nila sa learning, yung skills nila sa interpersonal relationship, yung skills nila sa understanding, etc., etc. Okay? So, the next one is clarifying and establishing theory. Ito na yung framework. Pagkatapos nyo makaisip ng topic, sa bagay naka-record kayo pero maganda nagno-notes kayo, especially those who are intending to come up with their own action research right away, no? Yung mga gustong ma-promote next school year sa pasukan, mag-umpisa na kayo ngayon, okay? So from the topic, na-identify nyo na yung topic, no? Nakita nyo na kung ano yung pwedeng maging needs ng inyong profession as of the moment. The next stage is to identify and discern the values, beliefs, and theoretical perspectives the researchers have about the focus they have chosen in the first step. Yun ay ito yung supporting concept or idea doon sa topic na napili nyo o naisip nyo. Theoretical framework, okay? Or conceptual framework. When researchers or teachers are concerned about a particular development in the classroom, it is helpful to first clarify which approach or method would work best. For example, should the teacher set up a reward system or should the students experience the consequences of their behavior in a natural way? Ito example na to ay kung bibigyan ko ng malinaw na topic pwedeng gawin. Pero mahirap siya ngayon sa synchronous asynchronous modes, no modal learning system. Sa actual siya sa face-to-face na actual. It has something to do with kung gusto niyo ng particular na theory for this topic. Ito ay reward and punishment or positive and negative reinforcement ng operant conditioning theory ni Thorndike, ni hindi si Skinner kasi si Skinner sa reward and positive and negative reinforcement. Hindi si Pavlov, si Skinner, si Thorndike, si Bandura, yung mga yan, si Watson, ayan. Yan ang hahanapin yung personalities. Kung ang topic na naisip nyo is how effective is reward and punishment or positive and negative reinforcement in involving your learners to participate in the classroom activities. So, binibigyan ko na kayo ng tip, di ba? Pero sa ngayon, kasi hindi siya masyadong applicable, pero pwede, kaya. Hindi nyo lang masyadong makokontrol dahil nga hindi nyo personally na nakikita yung inyong mga estudyante. Ang magiging base nyo palagi ay recording, yung kanilang mga output. No? Oo, hindi nyo masyado ma-observe yung behaviors nila dahil virtual. So the next one is identifying research questions. So may framework na kayo. Actually, pwedeng vice versa yan eh. Yung problem statements at saka yung framework. Pwedeng mauna yung problem statements at saka framework. Pwede namang, most of the time kasi yung topic, problems, and then framework. Sa title defense nga, sa grad school, title at problem statements muna ang hinihingi. No? Pero pwede rin namang from the topic, para mas masuportahan yung inyong interest, mas lumawak agad yung alam nyo tungkol sa topic, maghanap muna kayo ng pinaka-supportive or relevant framework. Okay? So, the next is research questions. No? It is the selection of focus areas to be completed and the perspectives of the researchers or lecturers have been clarified. The next step is to generate research questions that are intended to shape the research. At ang problem statements or research questions are easier or can be easier to identify or to describe when you have already the complete title, no, of your study or research. Bakit? Anong pagkakaiba ng topic sa title? Magkaiba sila. Similar sila pero magkaiba. Yung topic, hindi pa siya talaga yung specific na focus ng study mo. Pwedeng yung topic mo reward and punishment, positive and negative reinforcement as an effective tool, no, to have yan ang topic mo. Gagawin mo siyang title. Pag title kasi, kumpleto na yung magiging itsura ng iyong focus. From the title, at saka mo madodraw ang problem statements. Bakit? Kasi, ang title, nasa kanya dapat yung buong konsepto ng study mo. Kahit sabihin yung it's a one sentence presentation, dapat sa title pa lang, malinaw na kung ano yung goal ng study. No? Yun na yung nakikita na sa title, what the researcher intends to pursue. Okay? Accurate data and information is important because everyone bases decisions on it. This is also the case for researchers or teachers. Action researchers ensure that the data used to base decisions on is reliable and valid at the same time. Valid in this context means that the information accurately represents and conveys the researcher's message. So dun sa statement of the problem niyo pa lang or sa questions, nakikita na ng malinaw what kinds of data do you intend to collect or measure. Yung questions nyo or problem statements nyo ang magdi-describe anong klase ng data ang kailangan nyong kalapit. Okay? Okay? So, kaya nga, ang questionnaire na ginagamit dapat ay match or parallel dun sa hinahanap ng problems or questions. Minsan may nasasawi dyan ng mga grad students, no? Yung questionnaire na balak nilang gamitin ay hindi match, hindi masasagot yung hinahanap ng problem statements nila. Kaya nga yung problem statements is the core, no? Yung pinaka-guide ng study. Ang problem statements ang basis ng methodology ng research design. Ang problem statements ang basis ng sampling technique. Ang problem statements ang basis ng tools to be used. Ang problem statements ang basis ng data analysis or the statistical tools to be used. Nakita nyo? Napaka-critical ng role ng questions, ng research questions or ng problem statements. Okay? Sa ano yan. So, from the questions, huli pala yung title niya, collecting data. Pero bakit kaya may blanco? Nakakainis naman itong ano na to, PowerPoint na to. Sabi sa inyo hindi ko na-memorize to, yung papagawa ng PowerPoint. Yung statistics na-memorize ko, ito hindi. So that is collecting data, which is connected to the designing or describing your research questions. Connected siya. And when we talk of collating data, hindi lang yan yung nababasa nyo sa proposal or sa mga thesis or researches na data gathering procedure. No. Before you can gather the data, dapat malinaw na anong klase ng research design yung gagamitin mo, anong research instrument ang gagamitin mo, ano yung sampling procedure na gagamitin mo, sino yung mga pagbibigyan mo o kukolektahan mo ng data. Okay? So, typically, researchers ensure that they get their information from multiple data sources. No, I'm particularly to sa qualitative research. No, many of them use triangulation. Ito yung ang triangulation kasi kaya siya very useful sa qualitative research. No, hindi lang yung qualitative research niya, sabi ko sa inyo, in the absence of an inferential statistical tool rather. Mahirap mapatunayan yung reliability and validity of data in the absence of scores. Kasi yung scores ang nagre-represent nung opinion or nung ability nung respondents. Di ba? So, in the absence of scores, kung hindi kayo gumamit ng scaled tool, na reliable tool, at ang ginamit nyo ay open-ended, dapat hindi kayo masapatan, no? You are not going to be contented with your data na nanggaling lang sa open-ended questionnaire nyo, no? You have to collect another sets of data. Pwedeng the same respondents, pwedeng iba pero related sa kanila para ma-suportahan yung collect yung data na unang set, no? Triangulation means having 3 sources of data or having 3 sources of groups of respondents. Okay? So, it is a process to increase the reliability and validity of data. Ang tawag ko dito, ito sarili kong, I coined this, no? I coined this on my own. The triangulation is the counterpart of the inferential statistics in quantitative research. Sa qualitative research, ang measure ng validity and reliability of the data ay triangulation. Sa quantitative research, ang measure ng validity and reliability of the data collected is the use of inferential statistics. Okay? So it is explained as studying or observing an object or information by looking at it from multiple perspectives. This helps a researcher to compare things and look at a topic from multiple angles. Yes, ma'am? May question po?
Ito na.
Ano lang yata? Nagkamali lang na napindot ang
Sabi na, mas lalo yapan ng sa akin yung research to present.
Hello? Hello? Okay. Any questions so far? Clarifications? Come on. Meron kayong gustong isingit na tanong o suggestions or anything? Teachers? Wala naman.
Wala pa po, ma'am, so far.
Okay, so far, oo. Nag-commercial lang si ma'am. Kala ko kasi mayroong gustong magtanong eh. Oo. Okay. So, next is analyzing the data. Okay, data analysis usually refers to complex statistical calculations and relationships. However, this is not always the case for teachers and researchers. In action research, we are on action research. There are easy-to-use procedures and best practices that help the user identify patterns and trends in data. This is particularly for qualitative research, action research done under the qualitative approach. I will repeat, action research done or performed under the qualitative approach. Okay? Then the reporting, although it may sound contradictory, many teachers consider their profession to be lonely. Ako hindi. Masaya akong maging teacher. No? Many teachers spend every day teaching others, designing lessons, and doing this on their own. So reporting action research is very important. is usually takes place in an informal setting, unlike the formal setting where scientific research is shared. Dito yung reporting niya, alam mo yun, yung may findings ka doon sa ginamit mong strategy, kukwento mo doon sa friendship mo, sa kumare mo, uy, gawin mo to, maganda to. Diba? Yung kanina, yung sa aking doon sa sarili kong ginawang framework on action research na sabihin mo sa coordinator mo, sabihin mo sa principal mo, gawan mo ng report sa DepEd, ambisyoso yun. Pero why not? Coconut. Diba? Pero yung pinakasimpleng reporting, kinuwento mo dun sa friendship mo, na parehas kayo ng subject na tinuturo, sinubukan niya, nag-compare kayo ng notes, nag-compare kayo ng results, then from there, at saka ka gagawa ng recommendation. Diba? Okay? So, ginagawa nyo yan, hindi nyo lang napapansin, di ba? Ginagawa nyo. So, ang action planning, yung huling phase or part, is also referred to as informed action. This is the final step in the action research process. When a teacher or researcher writes a plan or develops a program, he or she is usually also involved in the planning process. Action planning is more of an approach than a method. Anong pagkakaiba? Yung method ay under ng approach. Ang approach ay mas malaki. Okay? Yung method is how you are going to make the approach into reality. Okay? Paano mo i-deliver yun nandun sa approach. Diba? Mas malawak. Okay? So, it is a statement of what someone wants to achieve in a certain period of time. Drawing up and executing an action plan is an effective way to achieve goals. So, action plan mo, pinanukala mo sa iba, ginawa nila. Therefore, sa dulo ng baghari, napatunayan mo na yung strategy na ginagawa mo sa classroom in teaching this particular lesson is very effective. Yung action na ginawa mo to help the learners improve their skills in memorization or in memorizing new vocabulary or improving their spelling skills is very effective. Yun yung naging pinaka-final output ng iyong action research. Okay? Now, how are you going to write? I-apply na natin yung mga theories na sinabi ni Levin. Okay? Choose a topic. How? Read, observe, ask, etc. Nakita niyo una-una yung read. Kasi sa reading tayo nagkakaroon ng maraming di ba? Insights. Okay? Upon deciding, read again about the topic. Bakit? Para mas ma-confirm mo, no? Mas ma-confirm mo yung idea na gusto mo. Okay? Then, design the title by identifying the variables to be involved and measured. From the topic, you have to construct or come up with a title. Why? Because the title will be your first and last basis ng iyong research. Inside the title, in your title, no, identify the variables to be involved and measured. Yung mga variables yan yung susukatin mo. Yung mga variables na yan ang magiging laman ng iyong problem statements. Example, ito na yung sabi ko. Actually, apektado pa ako nung inupuan kong dissertation last 2 weeks ago. Ito yung topic niya ng friend ni Ma'am Richelle. Si Ma'am Dayan L. Lavarias. Topic niya to synchronous. Ang ganda nung kanya, synchronous and asynchronous modes. Nasabi ko, ito yung pinaka-context ng kanyang, sinismis ko si Ma'am Dayan no? Ito yung pinaka-context ng kanyang blended sa kanya blended strategy or blended learning style, sabi ko in context, para talagang timely siya sa situation nyo ngayon. Yung blended learning or blended delivery should be between the synchronous and the asynchronous modes of delivery system. Okay? So, example, naisip mong topic, yung synchronous, asynchronous modes. Okay? Isang variable yan. Actually, dalawang variable yung synchronous at asynchronous. Then, academic performance of your pupils. Another variable yan. And then, English, Science, Math. No? Ano siya ng mga subjects. another set of variables yan, mga subjects, variable yan. So ito yung mga variables mo sa iyo. Ito yung mga topics, ito yung topic na gustong yung kinalaman ng synchronous, asynchronous, sa academic performance or sa performance ng mga pupils sa tatlong subjects. Okay? Ito yung title niyan. Pupils' academic performance in English, Science, and Math based on synchronous and asynchronous modes of delivery system, or synchronous and asynchronous modes of delivery or teaching delivery. Diba? Ganun. So yan. Ayan ang variables. Malinaw. Pupils' academic performance in English, in Science, and in Math. Tatlong sub-variables. No? Academic performance sa tatlong subjects based on the synchronous, another variable, and the asynchronous modes of delivery. Okay? So you prepare the problem statements by focusing on the variables in the title. Make sure that there will be a clear source or sources of data to be collected as described in the problems. This example I'm giving you does not necessarily require an intervention or an action per se. What made me say that? Kasi ginagawa niyo na di ba? Nagsisynchronous at nag-asynchronous na kayo, yun na yung action. Pero hindi niyo intentionally ginawa kasi mandated yan di ba? Mandated na DepEd yan yan ang pinaka-response natin ng DepEd dito sa new learning system, di ba? So sa blended learning system, naalala ko na yung nito yan, blended learning system. So dahil lang dyan na yan, make use of it. Diba? Yung grades ng mga bata nyo sa synchronous, nagdi-discuss kayo, sino yung sumasagot, sino yung nagpa-participate, pag on the spot, nagpa-group work ka o nagpa-quiz ka, ilan ang nakuha, lahat yan lalagyan nyo ng equivalent rating. Kaya nga importante palagi yung rubrics nyo nakaharap sa inyo, lalo na pagka-synchronous, nagdi-discuss kayo, sino yung nakasagot ng tama, sino yung binigyan nyo ng short quiz 1 to 5, nakakuha ng mataas, may right there and then bigyan nyo na ng equivalent rating. Kasi yung mga ratings na yan, ang pwede nyong gamitin to represent the academic performance of your pupils. Iipunin nyo yan, i-average nyo doon sa subject. Diba? Then sa asynchronous, ayan yung mga pinapasa nila na module na sandamakmak, pinipicturan, alam nyo, natawa ako dun sa wala lang akong sa DepEd. Alam niyo, may mga nakakatawang curriculum, content ng curriculum ng DepEd. Sorry kasi isa sa mga ko yan yung module development. Chika ko lang sa inyo na wag na lang. My daughter, my youngest daughter is in grade 7. Pinagawa sila ng microscope na gawa sa recycled material. Science So ine-expect ko ang kasunod na hahanapin is functions, parts, identify the parts and the functions of the microscope. Kasi science yung subject. Nagulat ako ang tinatanong na sabi ng anak ko na, sabi ko, anong hinahanap after na, ginawa siya ni kuya niya, hindi mo niya kayang gumawa nun Kuya niya, magaling sa yung aking anak Gumawa ng galing sa spool ng paper towel. Tsaka tape, at tsaka yung illustration board nakagawa. May ikot pa nga yung pinaka-focus ng Na-expect kong ipapalabel yung parts and functions. Matik yun, di ba? Hindi Tinanong ng module ay what materials were used. Yung pala sabi ko, bakit? Recycling ba ang topic? Hindi, microscope. Bakit ang tinatanong ay materials used? Paano ginawa? Ha? Nawindang ako. What happened? So I have to correct. I have to, I have to facilitate. But ako, paano yung parents na hindi maalam? Di ba? Hahayaan lang. Something is wrong with the ng DepEd. Daming dapat i-review. Daming dapat i-review sa content. At ang nangyayari, kayo ang nasa dulo. Kayo ang nirereklamuhan ng, hindi ako nagreklamo sa teachers. Kasi alam ko na dinideliver nyo lang yung binagsak sa inyo ng DepEd na mga curriculum. Diba? Pero ako, I have to correct. Sabi ko sa anak ko, dapat talagang hinanap sa inyo dyan yung functions and parts and functions, how to use the microscope. Because, you know, in the absence of the actual, dahil wala kayong yung laboratory, dapat alam nyo rin kung ano yung mga parts and functions ng microscope. Hindi, ang tinanong materials used in doing them. Na ang topic ay microscope, hindi naman pala recycling. Anyway, kaiyak mo. So, from this, no, tingnan natin na ano yung ginawa kong, I came up with an example of an SOPs or not an set of SOPs rather. So, problem statements, this is for a qualitative research approach ng nasa action research tayo ha. Sabi ko sa inyo, wala kayong not intentionally na gumawa kayo ng action or intervention kasi given na yung action tsaka intervention. Dito sa topic na to, yung synchronous at saka asynchronous na araw-araw yung ginagawa. Diba? Hindi nyo na lang siya sinadyang gawin kasi given na siya. May output na galing doon sa activity. Activity nyo, yung action nyo, yung is the modes of the delivery, na learning delivery system. So number 1, academic performance. Diba yan yung nasa title nyo na variable? So levels of academic performance of pupils based on synchronous mode of delivery. Dapat pala yan, mode of learning delivery. No? Ngayon ko lang naalala yung learning eh. The following subjects, English, Science, and Math. Then, levels of academic performance of pupils based on the asynchronous mode of learning delivery. English, Science, and Math. Okay? Then, quantitative pala yung nauna kong example. Sabi ko, qualitative. Again, I see corrected. So, for quantitative method yung SOPs na to ng first set ha. Other significant relationships on the levels of academic performance of pupils between the synchronous and asynchronous modes of delivery or learning delivery on their subjects in English, Science, and Math. Ito yung tinatawag na inferential problem or hypothetical problem. Pag may ganito kayong SOP, dapat meron kayong hypothesis. Na ang tinatanong, na ang sinasabi, there is no significant relationship on the levels of academic performance of pupils between the synchronous and asynchronous mode of learning delivery on their subjects in English, Science, and Math. Now, for qualitative, hindi yan ang gagamitin nyo. Ito yung question, number 3. What are the levels of correlation of the academic performance of pupils between synchronous and asynchronous modes of learning delivery on their subjects in English, Science, and Math? Levels of correlation. Yung overall grade sa synchronous at overall grade sa asynchronous sa English, co-correlate. Okay? Kung ito ay magiging positively or negatively correlated or not correlated at all or negligible ang correlation. Okay? Now, again, for qualitative pa rin yung number 4, what issues and concerns have manifested in the performance of pupils from synchronous and asynchronous modes of delivery on their subjects in English, Science, and Math? Pag qualitative kasi, palagi tayong naghahanap ng pinagmulan ng problema. So kung sa tingin mo kaya mo siya ginawa gusto mo siyang gawa ng study, ng research, gusto mong makita kung saan mas nagpe-perform ang pupils, kung sa synchronous or asynchronous mode, di ba? Hahanapin mo din ngayon kung ano yung posibleng issues and concerns, bakit hindi magaling sa synchronous, magaling sa asynchronous, or magaling sa synchronous, hindi magaling sa asynchronous. Pag magaling sa asynchronous, tiyak sa inyo, magaling ang nanay niyan, tsaka ang ate niyan. Sa synchronous, hindi kumikibo, no? Hindi nagsasalita. Pagdating sa asynchronous, tama lahat, perfect. Magaling ang tutor niyan. Kaya kailangan balansihin nyo yan. Kailangan balansihin nyo kasi tandaan nyo, no? At meron namang bibang-biba sa synchronous, no? Daling mag-discuss. Pagdating sa asynchronous, wala. Walang nagbabantay dyan. Panay ang, anong tawag nila? Module attack. Ano yan? Yung ML, module, ano yan eh, no? Yung ML.
Module legend, ma'am.
Module legend. Ay, Diyos ko, sakit sa ulo. Ngayon, no? Yung mga Kailangan mo silang bantayan, no? Yung advisor ni baby ko, ang lista ng mga batang hindi nagsasubmit, no? Kailangan, pag hindi, totoo naman, yung anak ko, babae, grade 7, yung bunso ko, pag hindi namin natutukan, laktaw-laktaw yung module niya. Paano, naisingit niyang mag-YouTube, mag-TikTok, mag-Facebook, ginawa na yung susunod, hindi pala niya nagawa yung nauna kasi inuna niyang mag-TikTok. Kailangan bantayan. Kailangan bantayan. Nagkasakit siya last week. Ang deadline nung Friday. Niratsyada namin ang mga asynchronous requirements. Iba talaga yung actual, no? Yung live na nandiyan yung teacher, nakikita yung estudyante. Doble hirap talaga tayo pare-parehas. Both the parents and the teachers. Kaya yung mga parents na very busy, no? Yung hindi nababantayan na talaga delikado ang performance ng mga bata. Pwera na lang kung ang mga bata ay mga diligent, may sarili ng sistema, may sarili ng learning styles. Pero most of the time ngayon, ang mga bagets ngayon, yung generation ngayon, asa tayo. Asa tayo talaga. Dami nating kaagaw, no? Lalo na yung social media. So, either for number 5, no, either for qualitative or quantitative problems, pwede itong magamit, no. Plan of action can be proposed to help improve the academic performance of pupils in English, science, and math. Okay na ba yung example ko? Pwede nyo na yung sundan. Kasi almost 1.5 na tayo dito sa aking discussion. Malapit na tayo sa inyong groupings, no? So for action research with intervention, problem statement on the pre-assessment result is necessary, no? Kapag sabihin natin, medyo gusto niya ng challenging na buhay, gagawa talaga kayo ng intervention, particular intervention or action. Hindi niyo aasahan yung ano lang ng DepEd, yung synchronous, asynchronous, or yung merong pinanukala ang DepEd na bagong parang video materials na ipapapanood nyo at yun ang magiging basis ng performance, no? Pero instead, gagawa ka ng sarili mong, magdi-design ka ng sarili mong strategy, no? Ng intervention or action. Okay? Para doon sa action research, iba ang itsura ng iyong problem statements. Dapat ang una is asking for the result of the pre-assessment. Parang experimental. Yung kanina dun sa yung framework ng action research, tatandaan nyo, yun ang susundan nyo ng ano. What is the result, no? Or what is the academic, the performance, the scholastic or learning performance of the pupils based on the pre-assessment result or as revealed by the pre-assessment test. And then, what is the result of the post-assessment test? Kapag yan ang ginawa nyo, pag intervention, ginawa nyo talaga ng intervention, kailangan nyong hanapin ay difference. Doon sa example ko, kaya relationship ang hinanap natin, no? Kasi 3 subjects. Titingnan nyo kung hindi nyo pwedeng hanapan ng difference yung 3 magkakaibang subjects. Relationship lang ang pwede. Pero pwede nyo hanapan ng difference yung synchronous, asynchronous sa English, yung synchronous, asynchronous sa math, yung synchronous, asynchronous sa science. Pwedeng difference yun. Pero pinaka-practical na yung relationship. Pero in the application of intervention or action, no? Ito yung sinasabi ko ngayon na ang una nyong hahanapin is the result of the pre-assessment and then the result of post-assessment. You cannot use relationship or correlation. Instead, you have to compare. You have to find for significant difference. Kasi ima-minus yung result ng post-assessment, ima-minus yung result ng pre-assessment kung nag-improve o hindi. Diba? Kaya definitely, pag gumamit kayo ng intervention, mas practical na mag-quantitative kayo. Kasi mahirap i-prove sa qualitative yung difference. Kailangan i-undergo siya ng t-test or ANOVA. Okay? Likewise, problem statement on the post-assessment is the most necessary. Ayan nga yung sinasabi sa inyo. It is like doing an experimental research but not actually doing an experimental research. Kasi nga sabi ko kanina, ang totoong experimental research ay may manipulation, may control, may equating, may etc. etc. Masalimuot ang totoong experimental research. So, para siyang quasi, no? Parang experimental. No? It's like a quasi experimental research, no? Pero action research siya actually. So dahil ginamitan ng intervention, kailangan yung kunin yung before and after na performance ng learners. Okay? Klaro ba aking mga colleagues? Hello? Okay. Anyway, so for your theoretical framework, no, for action research, mas pinaka-practical palagi yung DepEd's concept for curriculum development and planning, no, to use. Kasi nga, kailangan kasi ang framework saktong-sakto doon sa inyong sa focus, lalo na kung ano siya, academic concern. No? Pag academic concern, balikan nyo lagi yung rules and guidelines ng DepEd na kailangan yung gamitin. Yun ang gamitin yung theoretical framework. Pero if you wish, pwede namang dalawa ang sets ng theoretical framework nyo. Isang supportive to the academic at isang supportive sa behaviors. No? Ayan, balikan nyo ngayon dyan sila Bandura, sila Piaget, no? Sila Thorndike. Yan, balikan nyo ngayon sila Chomsky, sila Vygotsky. Okay? Sila ngayon yung for additional theoretical framework. Ayan, sabi ko nga, scientific theories are fine, but sometimes are not or cannot directly connect to the objectives of the research. So, depende sa objective ng inyong research, yung inyong kukunin o gagamiting theoretical framework. For the research paradigm, no, CIPP is the most appropriate model to use, the content, input, process, and product. No? Let's do away with the IPO. Actually, ang IPO kasi mas ano talaga siya appropriate sa mga developmental study, no? yung mga pang computer programming, no? Kasi input, process, output, no? Inadapt lang siya sa educational setting ng isang madre noong 1960s sa grad school, no? Nakalimutan ko yung pangalan ng madre yun eh, sa abroad, sa US, kasi nakita niya na kailangan ng guide. Noong mga panahon na yun, hindi pa ganun kaano ang research sa education. Nakita niya kailangan ng guide ng mga nagsusulat ng thesis and dissertation na mas simple lang. Pero originally, ang IPO ay na-realize nang nag-umpisa ang idea ng computer. Sa computer or sa data analysis nang galing yung model ng IPO, if I'm not mistaken. No? Kaya ngayon ang pinopromote namin sa grad school, ito ay with the help of my friend, Dr. Dalisay Browner ng grad school ng UMAC. No? Ito yung pinopromote namin yung content, input, process, and product. Okay? Schematic model is also suitable. Schematic is the step-by-step process. Schematic. Okay? Mas ano rin siya, pwede rin siyang gamitin. Okay, so for the RRL, action research does not have to include too many RRLs. I believe DepEd has its own format, di ba? Merong format ang DepEd na binibigay na susundan nyo in your action research, if I'm not mistaken. No? So, actually, ang theoretical framework tsaka ang RRL sa action research, magkasama na yan. Kasama na yan. At hindi kailangan mahaba ang review of related literature. Only the most relevant and supportive and up-to-date published literature and studies will be fine to include. Okay? Then the methodology is, of course, action research. The methodology is, of course, parang ano, the methodology in action research is of course, in action research. Pasensya na kayo, ha? Parang nalasing ako dito sa ano to. Ang methodology is part of the action research but can be discussed together. Sorry, naka-record pa naman to. With the specific data gathering techniques and research instruments. Siguro may binura ako dito tapos hindi ko pinalitan akong phrase or ano na hindi ko natanggal yung is of course part. Nawala yung word na part. The methodology is of course part of action research but to be discussed together with the specific data gathering techniques and research instruments to be used such as survey, using a reliable tool, either close-ended or open-ended, interview, observation, FGD, documentary analysis, etc. Okay, so nakadugtong yung research design na gagamitin, ang karugtong is the data gathering techniques or yung tools to be used. Okay, the selection of respondents or the participants. Yeah. the sampling, no? Yung sa sampling technique in action research is usually based on the non-probability sampling technique, particularly purposive sampling. Most of the time, purposive sampling. Kasi nga, yung intervention or yung action, ano ba ito po? Pumalagpas. Yung action or intervention is intended to be applied or to be implemented to a particular group of individuals or respondents, and who happen to be your pupils in grade 3, pupils in grade 4, pupils in grade 5, etc. Kaya purposive siya madalas, no? Non-probability sampling, purposive. Ibig sabihin, you intentionally choose your respondents based on the requirements of the research that you're going to do. Okay, that's the meaning of purposive sampling. May purpose ang pagpili mo, merong characteristics na specific yung study na kailangang i-involve, hindi kung sino lang, hindi general ang characteristics. May particular characteristics or qualifications. Okay? Then data measurements use various types of questionnaire. No, pwedeng quali, pwedeng quanti, both for quali and quanti methods. So, may ano ng types of questionnaire. Ano yung iba-ibang klase ng questionnaire? May rank questions. Yan yung seek the respondents' opinion by asking them to comparative rank the items listed. Yan yung i-rank mo ng 1, 2, 3, 4. Meron na given yung choices, i-rank nila from the most to the least. Okay? Then may scaled responses, provide a range of categories, express their stand, perceptions, opinions. Ito yung 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay na. Check nila yung may corresponding verbal interpretation, yung 1, yung 2, yung 3, and so on and so forth. Okay? Then, tama ba ako doon? No, scaled. No, naulit lang dyan. Hiniwalay ko kasi parehas lang siya. Multiple choice type. It is the most commonly used when the research measures the respondents, participants' abilities and skills objectively. Ito yung ginagamit nyo sa inyong mga test na mas pinakamadaling i-analyze, no? Kasi meron kayong prospectus, tawag natin dito yung passing ng saan yung passing, saan yan, yung multiple choice. Ilan ang kung to 50 items, ilan yung mid, ilan yung average, yung passing, ilan yung failed, ilan yung high pass rather. Okay? Pero pwede rin siya sa behavioral, no? Ginagamit din natin yan sa behavioral test. But most of the time, doon siya sa mga diagnostic test, no? Yung mga quizzes and long test. Checklist is a form of multiple choice questions from which the respondents, one or more of the responses or options given will be chosen. Okay, so pipili lang sila. Pag checklist, pumipili lang. Ang kaibahan niya sa rank, hindi kailangan nilang ilagay kung ano yung una, yung most to the list. No? Pipiliin lang nila dun sa choices, sa list, kung ano yung gusto nila or preferred nila. Okay? And then the open-ended questionnaire is only used for purely qualitative research. No? Yung iba kasing nauna, pwedeng gamitin sa quali-quanti. Pero ang open-ended never can be used in a quanti research. Kasi hindi applicable ang rubric sa quanti research. No, ang rubrics kasi yun nag-identify nung at ang rubrics palagi hindi natin mapa-perfect ang subjectivity. Di ba? May subjectivity at may subjectivity ang rubrics, yung pananaw, yung reference or preference rather, yung preference ng nagre-rate, no? Okay? Kaya hindi pwede ang open-ended questionnaire sa quanti research. Okay? Then the evaluative or assessment questionnaire uses the verbal descriptions. Oh, ito na. Doon na tayo sa paano ini-interpret yung scores ng tool na ginamit. So kapag ang tool nyo ay evaluative or assessment, yung questionnaire nyo, yung yan ang dapat ginagamit nyo. Never, always, poor, excellent, parang never to always, poor to excellent, to least extent to greater extent. Kapag evaluative, sinabing evaluative or assessment, yung gaano kadalas nyo nakikita yung estudyante na nagpa-participate o gaano anong mag-submit ng requirements, prompt, di ba? Gaano ka-diligent, ayan. O kaya yung performance niya, anong level, yan. Evaluative yan or assessment type yan. Okay? we are on test ko, kaya ito na naman ako, maliit na naman pala yung title ko. We are on test construction. Kasi alam niyo ginagawa ko, yung iba kong mga PowerPoint, pinapalitan ko lang. Minsan hindi pala applicable yung style, no? Kasi minsan may mga style, yung mga nahuli kong mga nakaraang kong webinar sa school, sa student council, sa iba-ibang colleges, puro about mental health at saka coping skills ng mga bata. Ang style, nahuhuli yung, ito hindi applicable dito, no? Kamali ako. Sorry. I sit corrected again. Okay, so we are on test construction. Bakit ko to isinali sa discussion? Kasi lalo na kung maliit lang naman ang target yung participants at maigsing period lang, isang quarter, hindi naman yung kailangan humanap ng highly reliable tool. Actually, kung galing sa DepEd yung tool na gagamitin nyo, reliable yan. Kasi dumaan sa proseso yan. Kung ang gagamitin yung is output ng quizzes nyo, no, reliable yan. Kasi kung binasi nyo yan sa inyong module, yung module na galing sa DepEd, may mga na-review ako na hindi, alam niyo yun, hindi ganun ka yung tanungan. Pero dumaan sa DepEd ang panghahawakan nyo dyan, galing yan sa DepEd, dapat reliable kasi galing sa DepEd, di ba? Dahil ang DepEd dapat nag-o-observe ng process ng measure ng reliability and validity of tools. Okay? Yun na lang ang panghahawakan natin. Kahit pa nga I managed to review some materials and tools from DepEd na for me, no, hindi siya maayos. No? Yung content niya ay hindi maayos. Then for perceptions, views, and opinions, ito yung mga behavioral na content. Ang ginagamit ay strongly disagree to strongly agree, not perceive or highly perceive, etc. Okay? Then yung Likert scale type, if you are to construct your own tools, no? Tandaan nyo po si Likert ay tao na nagpanukala nung 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 na score interval na ang naging basis niya ay yung normal curve na nakakonsentrate palagi ang ng score sa gitna. Pinipilit lagi nila na average, no? Kaya nga kami ni Dr. Silverio, we came up with our own arbitrarily arbitrarily designed score interval. Gumawa ako ng sarili namin kasi ayoko yung, alam niyo yung pinipilit lagi sa gitna, laging kailangan average, no? Si Likert, yung 5 point niya, gumagamit ng 1.00 to 1.49, yung 1 and 2 at saka 4 and 5, 0.50 ang intervals, but the rest 1, tigwa 1.0, kaya nga laging napupuwersa yung pinaka-result ng responses, napupuwersa lagi sa gitna. Kasi ang ginawa ni Likert na intervals between 2, 3, 3, 4, 1 lang 1.50 to 2.49, 2.50, 1.0 ang intervals niyan. Pero dun sa 1 tsaka sa 5, 0.50 lang. At least ang chance na mapunta doon sa dalawang dulo, di ba? Kaya yan. Kapag ka 4 ang scale, hindi yan Likert, ha? Hindi Likert ang tawag. Okay? So, ayan sinabi ko nga 4 point. Kami ni Dr. Silverio, ito, sa libro namin, meron yan. We came up with our own, nag-umpisa pala, siguro mga 3 years na ako nagtuturo ng research. No? I was the department head of the Department of Psychology then. We came up, tapos ito, tinatanggap to sa grad school. Ang tawag nga nila dito ay arbitrarily design. Kasi gusto ko almost equal yung distribution. Kaya ang ginawa ko dyan, yung 5, yung scale na 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, dinivide ko yung intervals na 4 ng 5 scales, dinivide ko sa 5. So, ang is 1.00 to 1.80, 1.81, and so on. Nasa 0.80 ang interval. Kaya, equal distribution. Diba? Hindi napipilit sa gitna yung responses na maging average palagi. Okay? So, do not use neutral or undecided as part of the options or choices. Okay? Ma'am, nabasa namin, yes. Pero may mga gumagawa kasi ng mga nagbabalidate ng mga test na may measure ng reliability na hindi naman talaga sila mga psychometricians, no? Meron silang pagkakataon, opportunity na measure sila ng reliability ng tools at nagkapag-standardize sila. Pero alam nyo, kaya tayo nag-a-assign ng 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to give a specific weight to the opinions or the assessment of the respondents. Diba? Represented no 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 scales yung kanilang response. Bakit tayo mag-a-assign ng number, laging lalagay pa 3 na undecided or neutral? Anong particular opinion or rating ang undecided or neutral. Eh di nawala ng saysay yung 1 na poor, yung 2 na fair, sa 3 na undecided and neutral, tas yung 4 ay agree at yung, di ba? Nawala ng saysay yung pag-a-assign mo ng points kung meron kang neutral or undecided. Kaya mo nga binibigyan ng points para wag siyang maglagay ng hindi malinaw na sagot. Kung hindi siya makadecide, ang ibig sabihin nun, minsan yes, minsan no. Eh di ilagay niya sa fairly agree or ilagay niya sa satisfactorily, 'di ba? Pero yung lalagyan niyo ng neutral or undecided, it forfeits the purpose of assigning scores to the responses of your respondents. Okay? So, validity and reliability, we're talking of, kasi ang action research nga, on your own yan eh. You have to do it on your own. Kaya dapat may idea kayo, no? Alam nyo kung how you can come up with a simple questionnaire. How you can come up or to construct a simple questionnaire. So, pinag-uusapan natin kapag nagko-construct ng questionnaire is the validity and reliability. Content validity assesses whether a test is representative of all aspects of the construct. The content of a test, survey, or measurement method must cover all relevant parts of the subject it aims to measure. Okay? Face validity considers how suitable the content of a test seems to be on the surface. It's similar to content validity, but face validity is a more informal and subjective assessment. Most of the time, we use face validity sa mga open-ended questionnaire at saka yung mga survey on behavioral, na kailangan kasi tama ba yung ginamit na jargons or words. Kaya nga ang madalas na nag-face validate is a content expert, yung subject area expert, na at the same time language, no? Tapos yung psychometrician, marunong sa test construction, then statistician. Sila yung mga pinagbabalidate natin. Sa content validity, ang best example is kumuha ka ng quiz sa lesson mo, unit 1, no? Sa asynchronous. Tapos may nahalo kang questions na hindi pala part ng lesson. Doon pala siya sa nakaraan o yung sa susunod pang lesson. Hindi valid yung content ng iyong test. Kasi may tanong siya na hindi masasagot, hindi posibleng masagot ng iyong respondents dahil hindi pa nila pinag-aralan. Okay? Kung psychological naman yan or behavioral, yung tinatanong ng test doon sa respondents ay hindi part ng kanyang values and characteristics kasi foreign. Kaya nga yung mga foreign tools, kinukuhanan pa na, ipinapilot test pa natin sa local setting para makita natin kung appropriate yung content o hindi. Diba? Kahit pa sabihin yung mga standardized test minsan or ginagawa niyan dito sa Pilipinas pa ng pilot testing, no? Ng local measure of reliability para makita kung swak siya doon sa characteristics ng Filipino personalities. Okay? So, reliability is the degree of consistency and precision or accuracy demonstrated by a test instrument. Yung reliability naman yung pagkakaugnay-ugnay ng mga statements ng test. Yung bang pangalawang statement ay connected o may kinalaman sa una at yung so on and so forth. Kaya nga kapag nagpa-pilot test, no, at kinukuha yung level of reliability, ini-engage siya sa cronbach alpha, hinahanap niyan yung standard deviation. How similar or dissimilar yung statement 1 sa 2, yung 2 sa 3, yung 3 sa 4. Okay, yun yung reliability. Okay? So, ang statistical tools, we have the frequency and percentage distribution, the mean average and mode, and the Pearson product moment correlation coefficient of association between variables of ratio scale interval data. Ito yung mga pang-qualitative research na pwede nyo gamitin. Okay? Kapag quanti na relationship at ang ay categorical data, chi-square. Anong pagkakaiba ng Pearson product? Ang Pearson R pwedeng quali, pwedeng quanti. Ha? Quali kapag level of correlation. Quanti kapag level and level pa. Quanti kapag significant relationship. May word na significant. Okay? Ang ginagamit siya doon sa data na mineasure ng scaled questionnaire, yung 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pero kapag ang questionnaire nyo ay nakakategory yung age, sex, yung demographic profile, chi-square ang ginagamit doon. Hindi Pearson R. Okay? Categorical data or nominal data. Then, Spearman-Rowe is the measure for relationships between ordinal variables. Ranking. Kapag yung ranking, ang ginamit yung tool ay nag-ranking, ang gagamitin yung statistical tools for relationship ay Spearman-Rowe. Then t-test is used for independent sample to measure the difference between two groups of respondents using the same measures or tools. So, dalawang grupo, male, female, or dalawang sections, section mangga, section santol, parehas na test, parehas na competency ang minimeasure nyo, t-test for independent samples ang gagamitin nyo. Okay, t-test for dependent samples, section mangga lang, pre-assessment, nag-activity, post-assessment, similar ang test kailangan, dependent T, for the T for dependent sample ang gagamitin nyo. Ang T independent, dalawang magkaibang groups, parehas ang tools, no, ang measures. Okay? May commercial lang ha. Ang T-dependent, isang group na dalawang test na similar. Madalas, pre-test, post-test. Okay? Pre-test, post-test. Pero pwede ring isang group, dalawang strategies ng teaching na isang lesson, similar hindi nyo pwedeng ipag-compare ang result ng test na magkaiba ang test. Okay? Kailangan parallel yung test. Parehas ng competency na mineasure. Kaya madalas ang pre-test post-test, nire-reshuffle yung post-test. Pinagbabalik-balik na parehas ang content. Okay? Then, ANOVA. One-way ANOVA, may two-way ANOVA pa ng F-test. Ginagamit ito sa multiple independent samples. Okay? Comparative din to ang ANOVA, comparative. Kung gusto niyo ng mas matindi pa, linear regression. Linear regression ginagamit both for comparative and correlational. Inferential yan, inferential stuff yan. So the SPSS, I'm sure you are familiar with the SPSS, no? Is the statistical package, software package used to analyze quantitative data. Ini-input na lang natin yung mga scores, no? Ang tawag ko dyan, ito ay personal, kung ako nag-coin nito, yung technology version. Ang tawag ko sa kanya is the technology version of the table of critical value. Sabi ko nga sa inyo kanina, bakit baligtad? Kapag Excel at table of critical value, kapag less than yung tabular value galing doon sa tape, doon sa compared mo sa computed value, less than, greater than yung computed value, reject the null hypothesis. Pag mas malaki yung table, yung score sa table of critical value kaysa sa computed value, accept pala. Pag mas maliit, no, yung computed value, malaki yung tabular value, accept the null. Pag mas malaki yung na-compute, maliit yung nasa table, reject the null. Pero sa SPSS, pag mas maliit ang sig value sa 0.05, laging 0.05 ang ginagawang reference, frame of reference. Pag mas maliit yung sig value sa 0.05, reject the null hypothesis. Pag mas malaki yung sig value sa 0.05, accept the null hypothesis. Alam niyo kung bakit? Kasi di ba, computer program ang SPSS. Sa halip na isa-isahin pa din yung scores table of critical value, ang ginawa ng SPSS, ng technology niya, yung sig value niya, no? Sig value is parang significant value, yan yung 0.01, 0.05, 0.10. No? Siya yung degrees of freedom. Okay? No, not degrees of freedom, rather. Margin of error. Margin of error. Sorry. I sit corrected. Margin of error yan. Yung sig value. Ang ibig sabihin yan, yung 0.05 sig value, ibig sabihin yan, 95% ng findings ay probably correct. at 5% lang ang posibleng error. Kaya ang tawag sa kanya margins of error. Yung 0.01, ibig sabihin 99% ang probability that the findings are correct at 1% lang ang probability na mali. So yung 0.10, 10% ang probability ng error at 90% yung probability na accurate. Kaya nga sa COVID, di ba, yung gamot, yung pinakamataas ang ano is 90% yung sa Pfizer, di ba? 10% pa yung margin of error niya. Eh sa applied research dapat 1% lang ang margin of error. Okay? Now, bakit 0.05 ang ginagamit natin palagi sa social sciences? Kasi nga ang social sciences ay nag-set ng margins of error sa 5% lang. Kaya ang SPSS pag sa social sciences laging ginagamit na frame of reference ay 5% margins of error. So margin of error. So yung sig value, yung na-compute na value ng Pearson R or ng t-test, ikino-convert na ng program ng SPSS into sig value. Okay? So kapag ang sig value niyang nag-fall yung score, kumbaga ang ginawa na lang ng program para hindi niya na kailangan ipakita isa-isa yung nasa table of critical value. Matik na ito yung computed value, saang sig value siya nag-fall. Kaya madalas may mga sig value kayo na 0.000. Kung yung mga gumawa na sa inyo ng paper, ng thesis, nakakakuha kayo ng sig value na 0.000. Ibig sabihin, ang sig value niya, yung ano ng kanyang error, ay wala. Wala siyang na-compute na ano. Very, very close yung mga scores. Na pag kinumpare mo sa 0.05, yung 0.000, list na list. Kaya, highly reliable yung findings. Kaya reject the null hypothesis. Nire-reject nyo yung there is no significant relationship or there is no significant difference. Okay? Kaya siya baligtad. Alam niyo yung realization na yan, hindi ko yan nabasa sa kahit anong book. I was able to realize that upon teaching repetitively research and writing researches, doon ko siya na-realize. No? Tapos kinonfirm ko lang siya kay Dr. Dagum, tsaka kay Dr. Silverio, kung tama yung understanding ko, bakit magkaiba ang sistema kapag gumagamit ng table of critical value at saka gumagamit ng SPSS. That's what you will get by doing it always. You know, practice will make you perfect, will help you to perfect your craft. Promise. Okay? So ayan yan. Yan yung sinasabi ko kanina. N1 and yung degrees of freedom, if the computed value is less than the tabular value, the null hypothesis is accepted and vice versa. In using a tabular value or critical value. In contrast, sa SPSS, if the sig value is less than 0.05, the null hypothesis is rejected. Okay? So data analysis, sa data analysis, data analysis is presented following the order of your problem statements. Kapag nag-present mo na yung findings. Sa action research, you don't have to follow the action research, you don't have to follow the format ng full thesis, no? After ng methodology, kasunod niyan ay reporting yung findings or results of findings, then conclusion recommendation. Mas ano siya, mas concise, no? Mas pinaigsi. So data are presented using tables, charts, graphs, etc. From the figures presented, data are analyzed and interpreted and supported by the most relevant literature or studies. And updated, of course, no? Dapat updated. Then conclusions and recommendations are the last to include, just like any other types of research. Most of the time, the proposed action plan or program followed after the recommendation part, just like a typical thesis or dissertation. And then references are the last information to be presented. Okay?
Garcia, ma'am, ask ko lang po, possible po ba na gamitin ng sabay yung qualitative at quantitative research methods sa action research?
Yes. Ang tawag dyan ay combination or mixed method. Yes. May inferential statement of the problem ka or yung hypothetical asking for significant relationship or significant difference. Tapos meron ka pang SOP for qualitative data like issues and concerns, strategies used, grouping, etc. Yan. Yan, qualitative, quanti-quali yan. Quali-quanti yan. Combination yan. What else?
Yun lang po so far, ma'am.
Wala nang iba? Are you still open for a practice? Tingin nyo, kaya nyo bang meron kasi ako ditong maliit din. Maising, ano. Actually, this could be your guide. No? If you wish to, you know, if you wish to come up now with your own, tawag dito, action research, no? Ito yung pwede kong sa ngayon, kasi nga nakita ko, it's 3:30, no? Hanggang 4 lang tayo, I understand. Ito yung pwede nyong gawin. Go back to your own school setting. Identify some topics that are possible for action research. Kagaya nung kanina in-example ko, synchronous, asynchronous. What else? Ang pwede nyo pang gawa ng ano pang particular area of concern or topic na pwede nyo pang madraw na timely. Yan ang unang hahanapin sa inyo. It should be timely. No? O hindi kailangang academic based. Di ba? Pwedeng gusto nyong malaman yung yung level ng self-concept ng mga estudyante nyo, ng mga bagets, no? Parang gusto nyo na malaman yung paano sila nagko-cope o yung mental health state nila, lalo na yung mga teachers sa values ed. Okay? So, ayan, pwedeng pwede nyo yan gawa ng, dyan kayo gumawa ng action research, no? Yung kasalukuyang coping skills ng mga bata or yung kagaya niyan, yung bakit ba mas marami nag-e-engage sa ML, sa Dota kaysa maggawa ng module. Diba? Ang pwede nyo diyang susubukan yung kung gusto nyo ng intervention, gamitin nyo yung isang klase ng computer game na i-relate nyo sa lesson. Wow, medyo mabigat. Pero pwede nyo gawin yun. Or i-interviewin nyo ang kanilang mga kasama sa bahay, no? Pasasagutin nyo yung bata ng questionnaire, pasasagutin nyo yung nasa bahay ng questionnaire kasi ang existing nyo dyan, no? Ang pinaka-action na gagawin nyo ay yung tingnan kung ano ang maipopropose nyong intervention doon sa pang-aagaw ng social media ng atensyon ng mga learners. Okay? Then identify the specific variables to be involved. Okay? Ano yung kagaya ng binigay ko kanina example. No, you follow that. Then you construct the title and the corresponding problem statements. Describe the most appropriate theoretical framework to use. Then describe the methodology to be used by particularly enumerating the research techniques, designs, techniques, instruments, statistical tools to be used. Okay? You may follow this. Okay, so anything else?
Po, kaninang umaga, ma'am, kasi ang task po namin ng mga coordinators is to present a program po for our coordinatorship. Ayan po, yung iba po nakapag-present na, pero yung sa akin po hindi ko pa na-present. Pero ang plan ko po kasi doon is yung program talaga yung umiikot sa pag-develop ng video lessons para sa mga these master skills. Kasi po LRMDS core po ako ngayon. So yun po ang pinaka-objective, maka-create ng team na magde-develop ng video lessons.
Sino ang target audience niyan? Pupils?
Yes, ma'am. Ang gusto ko po sana na i-target yung mga nasa risk, yung mga student at risk. Kasi po most of them, ang nabilang sa students at risk po ngayon, yung mga modulars, mga hindi nakaka-follow sa online na mode of learning.
Walang access sa
ang iniisip ko kasi, ma'am, kapag for example, na-approve ko yung proposal na yon, then nakapag-develop ng materials, pwede ko po bang ituloy yung sa papunta na ng action research yun parang yung effectiveness, ma'am, ng video lesson or ang impact niya doon sa performance ng mga students na both na ng online at saka yung nasa modular po.
Actually, yung action research doon papasok initially doon sa para mo mapatunayan yung effectiveness ng tool.
Apo, yun nga po.
Pag nabuo mo na yung tool, nabuo nyo na yung tool sa particular subject area, isasalang nyo yon sa mga modular. Either ibibigay nyo sa kanila na naka-USB, no, papanoorin nila o gagawin nila yung sabi sa video. Tapos meron silang sasagutan na post-assessment tool, di ba?
Yes, ma'am.
Pero mas maganda na meron din kayong pre-assessment kasi para makita nyo yung, hindi nyo ma-measure yung effectiveness kung post-assessment lang. Dapat may pre-assessment. Ano yung laman ng tool? Ano yung competency na ine-expect nyong ma-achieve nila o ma-develop? Yun yung laman ng inyong test na ibibigay nyo before and after.
So ma'am, hindi ko po pwedeng gawing basis yung collected data. Halimbawa, yung
No, it is already an action research.
Yung ano ma'am, yung pinaka-grade nila or yung performance nila ng first quarter and second quarter nitong school year 2020-2021. Kasi po parang ang implementation po ng program, if ever, will be next year pa. Kasi po magde-develop pa nga po ng school-based mga video lessons.
Hindi, ang gusto mo bang sabihin kung pwede mong magamit yung existing data. Pwede mong magamit yung existing data ng performance pero hindi doon sa particular topic na yon, Shell. Kasi wala pa yung tool. Wala pa yung tool. Ang pwede mong maging topic ay parang magni-needs assessment ka. Ito yung performance ng mga non-modular, ng mga modular lang na non-synchronous, no? Ang pwede mong gawin, yung performance ng mga nag-a-attend ng blended learning system at yung performance ng mga non-blended ng asynchronous lang. Kasi yung modular asynchronous lang, di ba? Yun ang i-compare mo. Ang pinaka-intervention doon or action para mag-qualify siya sa action research is the presence of the blended and only the asynchronous. Yung mga nag-a-undergo ng dalawang modal delivery system at yung nag-a-undergo lang ng isa. Ang pinaka-action mo doon yun, yung presence ng both at yung isa ay yung absence ng synchronous and only asynchronous. Yung compare mo yung performance nilang dalawa sa particular quarter period. Yung natapos na ngayon, first quarter and second quarter. So, hindi lang yung mga nag-undergo ng modular ang magiging participants mo. Or
yes, ma'am.
Pati yung nag-undergo ng blended learning.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Sige po. Thank you, ma'am.
Mas maganda ang diligin kanina.
Yun lang po. Thank you po.
Meron ka ng topic. Who else? Some more? Uulan. Kaya pala malamig. May tanong pa? I hope naging malinaw sa inyo ang mga bagay-bagay. Sana nakatulong ako na maging malinaw sa inyo ang balak nyong gawing paggawa ng action research. I hope, no? I've been of help. And I hope that lahat kayo ay mapopromote. Sana lahat kayo ay mapromote. Thank you very much.